Everybody. Well, hello and welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast right here in Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX. And the Diamondbacks lose another Game 2, surprise, surprise, in the month of June, dropping tonight's game to the Minnesota Twins by a score of 8-3. Ryne Nelson, not very good tonight. Definitely another subpar performance from Nelly. And, of course, the offense decided to do very little. Thank you guys again for joining us. Of course, Jesse Friedman will be joining us from Chase Field here shortly. And I am, of course, joined on the ones and twos by the people's producer, Damon Dog. Damon, I know that this is just another Game 2 loss. I know the Diamondbacks still have an opportunity to win the series in Game 3, but this kind of sucks. These patterns, first it was they couldn't win a Game 1. Now they can't seem to win a Game 2, losing 6 of them. Is that 6 in a row, 7 in a row now? My God, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's infuriating when you want to stack wins, but at the same time, it doesn't mean anything if you win Game 3, right? At the end of the day. And they've been winning a lot of Game 3s. So if they win tomorrow, I'm not too pressed about tonight. But yeah, the inconsistency is definitely tough to watch.
Well, and yeah, that's a big part of it. You're absolutely right, because it's baseball, right? So like it's so hard to predict just in general by nature. But on top of that, you just really have a team right now that is still struggling. A lot of guys on this team are still struggling. And of course, just by the nature of the game, the Twins are a good team. They're not, we said that before the series started, that this was going to be a challenge for the Diamondbacks. This wasn't going to be a team that they could just kind of, roll over on top of. But I mean, I will say that tonight's game, the big problem is obviously starting pitching with Ryne Nelson, his inconsistency, and how frustrating that must be for the organization, for Torey Lovullo. Ryne Nelson goes out there, he gives you one night where he looks brilliant, and then he comes out tonight, and it didn't feel like he could really get an out at times. I think that there is room to question Torey, and I will say that's fine. But I would also ask, what would you do then? Like, what would you do if you pull Ryne Nelson out of this game so early? Who do you turn to? Obviously, the bullpen tonight wasn't great. None of the other long relief options that Torey tried to go with, not using his high leverage guys, but using guys like Brandon Hughes and Bryce Jarvis tonight. I mean, it got them through the game, and honestly, those guys were more effective than Nelly. But I mean, right now, the Diamondbacks are just still in a position of having very little to work with when it comes to starting pitching. Is that rude to say? I mean, really, there's just they don't have a lot of options.
No, they have nothing. It's like we talked about yesterday. Like you were saying, what did you say? Like 85% health or something once Alek Thomas got back, and Jesse kind of pushed back on that and was like, 3 of the 5 of the projected starting rotation is still not present, and you can only spread yourself so thin. Three starters to be missing is a lot to deal with. And you're gonna struggle a little bit when that's the case, unless you're just like, I don't know, the Dodgers or the Braves or a team like that just has like an unlimited amount of arms or something. But we're not one of those teams.
Piece of Yoshi says the bullpen was fine. Yeah, by comparison to Ryne Nelson, the bullpen was fine, but at the same time, you're not confident in that. Going into a game where the Diamondback, Ryne Nelson gave up 4 runs, 6 runs, doing all of this stuff. The Scott McGough gave up a run. You got Brandon Hughes giving up a run. I mean, the bullpen didn't go out there and hold this the Twins team scoreless by any stretch of the imagination. But I mean, again, the Diamondbacks offense also is to blame here as well. Really, the Ryne Nelson had a terrible night, and the offense, once again, disappeared. The Diamondbacks offense disappeared. And I think when I say disappeared, 3 runs is still fine. But what we've seen out of this team this season, and especially what we've seen out of the starting rotation, 3 runs for the Diamondbacks it's just not going to win baseball games.
No, absolutely not.
Right? I mean, it's just not. They don't have the pitching to win a game where their offense only scores 3 runs right now.
Most teams in baseball don't, to be fair.
That's true.
But we aren't really in a place this season where we're like, oh, well, Merrill's on the mound, so we only need 2 runs tonight.
Yeah.
Like that's not the case this season. So yeah, there's not a lot of room for error on the offensive side of the game.
But Nelly was flat out awful tonight. Twins hitters averaged a 96.5 mile per hour exit velo on Nelson's fastball, which he threw 52% of the outing. So like his pitch selection wasn't great, his fastball wasn't great, and Twins hitters were just hitting everything tonight. The Diamondbacks offense really does shrink in game 2 lately. So far, they've scored 13 runs total in their last 7 game 2 of the series. I don't even know how to say that properly. Game 2s of the series. They've just been bad in game 2. We were talking about you have your series opener, you have your series finale. What do we even call a game 2? The middle child? Well, the Diamondbacks are not doing very good at raising their middle child lately because they have not been winning those games. And again, like you said, in a lot of these series victories, it doesn't matter because in the end they are able to win game 3. They're able, to, of course, take the series, and especially with what they were doing in April and May, that's a vast improvement. But this offense is just frustrating at times. This offense is confusing. It's kind of like what I said earlier about Ryne Nelson, right? Like Nelson goes out there and gives you some good outings, and that's what you see out of him as far as his potential goes. That's what you see where he can reach and where he can be. And you're not going to get that every night out of him, but you do feel like he is developing and getting closer and closer to being, a guy that can be a starter at a major league level for you and maybe a starter of the future for this franchise. However, the time when he's bad, it's very, very bad. And tonight was a night where, again, things didn't work out for him. His pitch selection wasn't great. His fastball was not great. And the Twins jumped all over him. They kind of knew the game plan. And of course, it's not a hard game plan when you go into a Ryne Nelson start and focus just on the fastball because he's going to throw it a lot, and his fastball can be hittable at times, obviously. But again, going back to the offense is just to blame, as much to blame here. They shrink away in game 2 lately. Like I said, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. did record his 8th career triple, and he got an RBI. His 8th career triple. Corbin Carroll.
It's crazy when Corbin is he's at 8 right now
in a season,
and he sucks.
Right. I mean, yeah. And speaking of Corbin's reached base safely in 12 straight home games. And again, he had another night where he was hitting the shit out of the ball, and it still was getting caught by the defense and felt very unlucky. But man, I mean, I feel like, again, the results might not quite be there yet, but I'm not worried about Corbin.
No. I want to make clear, I said he sucks right now. That was a joke, and I don't want people hopping on me in the chat for that.
They're going to attack you.
That's fine. I was kidding. I like what I'm seeing out of Corbin. I've liked for about over a month now.
Yeah.
I think he's playing pretty good, and it's weird. Baseball's weird, like you said. Like yesterday, he gets jammed, and he hits a little blooper, and it falls for a hit. Today, he hits a 102 mile per hour ball, and it's a line out. Like that's just how it is sometimes, and you get lucky sometimes.
Well, Damon, Roger Beshens is here, and he says Nelson needs to find a solid swing and miss pitch. I'm gonna guess sweeper. Yeah, no, we already know what.
What are you talking about?
We know what Roger's gonna say. Piece of Yoshi wants to fire Damon. Gino's still frustrated.
If it was up to Piece of Yoshi, this podcast would be an hour of silence, and there wouldn't be anybody that worked for this show.
It would just be Jesse apologizing for saying bad things about Pavin Smith. That's what it would be, an hour of that. And who wants that besides you and Don's Bread? and Charles Woodall Pike and most of our chat. But still, not a lot of people outside of that group want that. So, hey, and I want to give a shout out. I had a bad night. This was a bad night. This was a bad game. But I want to give a shout out to Alex. He was security at Chase Field, and my guy Alex made my night because even with how crappy things were going, I had him stop me at the diamond level. I felt like it was one of those times where I was going to have to flash the badge and be like, I'm allowed to be here. And instead, Alex just gave me a wonderful compliment and said he watched the show and was going to watch tonight. So I'm glad you followed through on that, Alex. And now I'm following through on giving you your shout out. Appreciate you, man. And again, on a crappy night, Alex made my night, so I appreciate him. I also appreciate Lourdes Gurriel Jr. He is our king snake for tonight. Lourdes went 1 for 3 with 2 RBI and that 8th career triple of his career. So, yeah, there you go. There's your king snake. I honestly, does anybody deserve it in this game? Probably not. Probably not. But maybe we should give it to some of the guys down in Reno. Ernesto Esker says, let's make this the Deyvison De Los Santos show. I'm all for that because we're going to talk about him. But I have something else to talk about, and that is all of these game 2 losses. But I'm not just going to talk about it. I'm going to yell, and I'm going to get angry, and we're going to throw some shade. Damon, do you have some good throw and shade music ready, handy? Game 2 losses in a row, huh? Yeah, let's not win game 2s anymore. What is wrong with you? Why do we have to have these patterns? Do you know how much this upsets Jesse? Because it makes no logical sense as to why the Diamondbacks cannot win a game 2 of a series. It doesn't. It's just an anomaly. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. Jesse seems to think so. And yeah, he's the big brain everybody trusts on this show. But that means he doesn't have an answer because he's going to say it doesn't make any sense. He's going to say there's no connection. But what's really going on here? I think the Diamondbacks got so used to losing the first game of the series that contentment just falls over them with that one win, and they don't pick it up in game 2. And I need them to pick it up in game 2. When their bats were against the wall, they could win a game 2. Elise says it right here. We have the game 2 flu. We're calling it that. Everybody's sick with it. Our bodies ache, and I hate it. And I don't understand why this team this year has so many bad patterns. I'm sick of it, and I don't know how to explain it. Ugh. Can you win a game 2 for Christ's sake? Maybe a sweep? I have to keep reminding people that we swept the Reds because everybody keeps saying we didn't sweep any teams. I'm like, we swept the Reds that one time. Don't you remember? Anyway, thank you guys for letting me vent. And thank you to Shady Rays for giving me the proper vehicle in which for me to vent. Of course, if you haven't gotten yourself a wonderful pair of sunglasses, make sure to get yourself a pair of Shady Rays. Not only are these bad boys cheaper than all of those premium brands that cost entirely too much money, but they are just as good. They have hundreds of options for you to choose from. You're bound to find the perfect pair. They have crazy sunglasses. They have very, very conservative sunglasses. They have everything in between, amazing colors, amazing frames, crystal clear optics. Not to mention they have the best lost and broken replacement plan in all of eyewear. If you lose or break your Shady Rays, even on day 1, they told us they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. No shame heaped upon you, no throwing shade at you at all in any way. You just get a new pair of sunglasses. And if you don't love them, you can exchange your Shady Rays for a brand new pair, or you can get your money back risk-free for 30 days. They do not want you fearing, your sunglasses not being all that you wanted them to be. And we know how shopping online can be. So, of course, their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Damon, it's Illegal Pete's time. It's time to talk about Illegal Pete's. And I mean, I'm saying this because I'm very hungry.
When you said Damon, I could just hear it in your voice. That was your Illegal Pete's voice. I knew it. I knew it was my bat signal.
Yeah, it's because I need Damon. Obviously, we talk about Damon living there, and it's for good reason. Illegal Pete's has so many options. They have so many combinations. You literally cannot try everything they have to offer. It's impossible, but you can give it a shot. They have irresistible drinks, mouthwatering food. They have a full cocktail bar. And of course, it's a great place to spend the summer. I know it might not be patio season when it's 110 degrees outside. However, their margaritas are very cold, and they also have air conditioning on the non-patio part of Illegal Pete. So whether you're looking to sit out in the heat and enjoy the Arizona summer, or you're looking to cool off, Illegal Pete's has you covered. Illegal Pete's is also here to bring you a win with their legendary sound check deal. Bring in your ticket stub from any ticketed event and get a draft beer or a house margarita for just a penny. Illegal Pete's wants to celebrate with you, whether it's pregame or postgame party. They got you covered on all your game day needs. Must purchase an adult entree to redeem Illegal Pete's sound check deal. Your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, beer, and Damon, Illegal Pete's. All right. Well, of course, we thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so right now. If you have not signed up for notifications, make sure to do that right now. And if you haven't dropped us a like, we implore you to do so. If you're watching on Twitter, get off of that website and come over here and join us on YouTube. That way you guys can make some comments and, be in on the show. I think Twitter comments work in here also, but I probably shouldn't have said that out loud. Just get over here. Get over to YouTube. It's more fun in YouTube. Also, if you're listening on your favorite audio podcasting app, make sure you subscribe there as well. Sign up or leave us a review. We always appreciate those reviews. Those 5-star reviews definitely help us out quite a bit. Of course, we do have some news on Torey Lovullo and his managerial staff for the All-Star game, which is very exciting. But before we do that, let's take a look at these numbers that I know nobody wants to look at these numbers, but let's take a look at the count presented by Desert Financial Credit Union. This one's ugly. I'm not going to lie. It's especially ugly if you took a same game parlay per se and chose for the Diamondbacks to out-hit the Twins in this one. You were like, I know they're going to lose, but I know in a loss, you would assume that they're going to get out-hit. So to counteract that, I'm going to big brain it and be like, yeah, they're going to lose game 2 because they always lose game 2, but they're going to out-hit the Twins because that's the less likely thing that would happen in a loss. And that's what would happen when I'm betting the same game parlay. Well, that's not what happened.
That would be a shame. That happened to someone you know? Or
no, it's just it's a fictional situation.
Gotcha.
This is just a scenario.
I think you threw a couple eyes in there on accident.
Did I throw it?
Yeah.
No, I mean,
this was a joke.
If it was a fictional situation, I would use eyes. I would say it like from a first hypothetically from a first person perspective. Would you think that? But you would be wrong. You'd be dead wrong. You'd be an idiot even because the Twins smashed the Diamondbacks. They out-hit them 14-4. They outscore them 8-3. Runners in scoring position. The Twins were 4 for 16. Diamondbacks 0 for 3. Extra base hits. The Twins had a lot of them. I know because I had a hard time counting them all up. They had 8. Diamondbacks had 2, and they hit the shit out of the ball. Their hard hit percentage, 59.4% tonight. 59.4% for their hard hit percentage. My God. They were smoking. Like I said, they were smoking the ball. They averaged a hard hit ball off of Ryne Nelson's fastball. Think about that. They averaged it. A 96.5 mile per hour exit velo off his fastball. Yeah. Fucking throw those numbers in the basura. I don't want to look at those anymore. But I will say that the Diamondbacks still, no matter how bad those numbers look, still have a chance to win the series tomorrow. And they have Jordan Montgomery going for them. So, I mean, when it comes to not knowing what you're going to get, I feel like Jordan Montgomery is very much that, right? You don't know what you're going to get, but you do know what his floor is and what his ceiling is. And so far this year, we've seen him in his last few starts be pretty damn good, pretty effective. So hopefully he gives them a good chance to win.
Let's do a fun little exercise, Derek. Let's rank our 5 current starting pitchers in terms of how much we trust them.
Oof.
You want to do that?
Not really.
I got Brandon Pfaadt number 1.
Number 1.
And that being said, we know he's going to give up a 3-run home run at some point in the game.
Yeah, sure.
Number 2, who are you going here?
Jordan Montgomery.
I think
he should be number 1.
We might have to, but he's been terrible.
He's been terrible.
Recently, he's been a lot better.
Recently, he's been better. And again, like baseball is one of those games, right, where 3 bad outings can make your season look terrible, can make your stats look terrible. I'm thankful that happens because that's how we got Ryan Thompson. And as you know, Ryan Thompson is my best friend in the whole wide world.
He
might not think that. I might not be his best friend.
No, he knows that.
But I'm definitely okay with declaring him to be
down,
my best
he knows
friend.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I guess like we're including Tommy Henry in this conversation, even though he got sent down.
Yeah, we will have to. I mean,
so
who else
I would go.
Well,
5.
let's say bullpen start. Let's say bullpen
that makes
game.
it even harder.
let's say opener, and it can be a fucking dealer's choice for opener.
Okay, then you know what I'm going?
Yeah,
Brandon Pfaadt bullpen game number 2.
Is it? Yeah,
Montgomery number 3.
You're probably not.
And
wrong.
then I'm going Slade number 4, and then there's a giant gap, and it's Ryne Nelson number 5.
Well, I mean, the bullpen games have proved to be more effective at earning wins, so I mean, you're not too far off base with that. Of course, we did get word that Torey Lovullo has chosen his coaching staff for the All-Star game in Texas, and of course, you knew it was going to be his guys. He picks Jeff Bannister as his bench coach, Dave McKay as his first base coach, the entire staff, Tony Perez-Chica, Brent Strom, Mike Fetters, Dan Carlson, Joe Mather, Damian Easley, Rick Short, Drew Hedman, and Ryan DePanfie. I always screw up his name, and I know I'm not even going to try. It's it's the athletic director. Excuse me, athletic trainer. Those are the National League coaching staff for the All-Star game. Let me tell you, I am not surprised there. We know Torey's a very loyal guy. Are you taking your own coaching staff to the All-Star game, Damon, or are you choosing like coaches from around the league? Are you grabbing the best hitting coach? Are you taking like the Atlanta Braves hitting coach? Are you taking, a different pitching coach?
How can we put this into like PHNX lore?
Well, okay.
So like we're going on a trip.
Let's say, let's say it's the big event, right? We're covering the World Series again, and you get your choice of production crew members to take with you. Are you taking Shane? Are you taking fucking Jacob? No, you're not. We're calling Sean DePaz and we're getting Emma, right? Like, I mean, I feel like you get the best.
No question about
in the league to come out and be your guys.
It's an all-star game. Like this isn't regular, old Diamondbacks baseball.
Right.
Let's get the boys going.
Yeah, let's get this thing.
Let's get rowdy.
Do you think that there's some gamesmanship where you don't want other coaches that then could learn things from you and then possibly use it against you when you're playing their teams? I don't know. Anyway, but here's Torey from earlier today telling his guys that they are going to be going to Texas to be part of his all-star staff.
I remember getting on the bus in Philadelphia after we won Game 7. And we were just about back to the hotel. And we were feeling no pain. And I was thinking about some things and fast-forwarding some of my thoughts. And I thought, oh, my God, we're going to be in the All-Star Game last year. So I collectively asked the group, what are you guys going to be doing next All-Star Game? I'm like, next July for the All-Star Game. They're like, I don't know. I'm like, SHIT. We're going to Texas, man. We're going to be coaching the All-Star Game. Log on. So that was a good moment for me in front of the guys. And we haven't really been thinking about it too much. I know we had a day with David Bell when we announced that. That was a special day for me because of my association with the Bell family. But we haven't really talked about it too much. I'm going to take them out to dinner once we get back to Chicago and thank them for all their hard work. We're going to celebrate it when we're in Texas, and we deserve it. We're really proud of that.
I love every Torey Lovullo story, by the way, especially ones where he says things like, we were feeling no pain, a.k.a. we were drunk as shit. And I love that. And I also love the fact that after they won Game 7, it dawned on Torey that he was going to be the manager for the All-Star Game and started looking ahead at that and had that conversation with those guys that had to make that moment of not only advancing to the World Series as a connected and dangerous team very special, but it's more special that you get to like remind your coaching staff of what that means, that hey, you guys are coming with me to Texas. And I think that's extremely cool. And again, you guys know how I feel about Torey. He makes some bad decisions at times, but Torey is a tremendous person, and this is another case of that. Again, you guys are tremendous people, by the way, for being here, watching us after a loss. We appreciate the company. Of course, if you are not part of our diehard family yet, we implore you to check that out. Our membership gives you all sorts of wonderful benefits, including a free t-shirt from the PHNXlocker.com. Get a wonderful little membership card that may or may not get you into secret clubs all around the valley and all around the country. You also get access to all of our premium written content. You get access to our Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona sports fan, with all sorts of exclusive content just for diehards, including our upcoming game show next week, Squeeze Play. That's going to be a lot of fun. You also get discounts on all of our events and so much more. So make sure to join us, become a member of the Diehard family. Also, if you are needing to refresh yourself, if you're needing with this heat outside to get yourself something to drink, something cold, you got to stop by a Circle K. There are Circle Ks all around the valley. There's one near you. And of course, you could get a Froster or a Polar Pop right now for just 79 cents. And that is through September 3rd. And of course, you also know I'm contractually obligated to receive Frosters. I do not have one right now. This is an outrage, to be honest.
A travesty.
It's a travesty. I was told that Circle K was going to put a Polar Pop machine in Studio K. I still don't see it. So, I mean, once that day happens, I might never leave this studio ever again. There's a couch in the back, Polar Pop machine, fridge right out there. What else do I need?
Took a nap on that couch yesterday.
Oh, it's a good couch to nap on. It's a great couch to nap on.
It was.
Michaela has somehow
mastered that.
Well, she
mastered that art.
She has made the couch her own. And I don't understand that. It's like I sit in Shane's desk. He tells me to get up. I go sit in the couch. Matt comes in. She's like, get out of my office. I didn't know it was her office. She just made the couch her office. Anyway, but it's also a great time for you. I took Mac, by the way, over to Circle K. We got a bunch of snacks. And she knows that the best snacks that are there are the Circle K branded snacks. Do not sleep on the Circle K branded snacks. They're right here behind me. They're delicious. And I keep getting told I can't eat these because they're for the set. And I'm furious. Again, no Froster for me right now. No snacks for me. Not happy. Not happy. Diamondbacks lost. Definitely not happy.
Is that actually a rule?
No, I don't know.
Because I've definitely...
Make sure he said keep it stocked. And I'm like,
I've definitely walked back there and started
caramel and
stuff.
cheddar popcorn right there. I'm supposed to not eat it? It's ridiculous. But I will stop on my way home because I need some cheap gas. And of course, I save because I'm an Inner Circle member. You can save too if you join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. But when you do join the Inner Circle, you'll save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups and save 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. All right, well, talk about denying me goodies, as Ragnar in the chat here says. I also don't have any OG's brands gummies with me right now. And after a loss like that, I could definitely use some edibles. So check out everything OG's has to offer, from their Happy Balance, which would be very much appreciated right now, to their Sleep Edition gummy, which I might need later in order to, have a good night's sleep. But I will tell you that after one bag of the Sleep Edition gummies, you will be back to sleeping on schedule like a baby. So make sure to try them out. Try everything that OG's has to offer. They have a wide variety of doses, strains, and effects for you to choose from. It's also the most delicious edible in the market. So to learn more about OG's gummies and where you can find them, head on over to ogsbrands.com. Must be 21 or over to enjoy, and please enjoy responsibly. Well, we've been making him wait for entirely too long while I've been doing all of these ad reads. But of course, the man, the myth, the legend, my vice mayor, your Thunder State, Jesse Friedman, joining us here from Chase Field. This was a gross loss, Jesse. And of course, we talked a little bit already about the fact that the Diamondbacks, they go through these patterns that you hate because they don't make any sense and there's no logic behind them. But first, they couldn't win game 1s. Now they can't win game 2s. And I'm frustrated.
It's further evidence to me, Derek, that all those narratives are just kind of fake. At least they feel that way to me.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah,
I just set people up for that.
I don't know. I think when the Diamondbacks, when the whole narrative of how terrible they had been in the first games of series, I think during that stretch of time, they were playing really, really well in the last games of series. But none of us are writing articles about how great they are at finishing the job, or in a lot of cases sort of avoiding getting swept. We saw that a number of times as well. But baseball is weird. These kinds of things are going to ebb and flow over the course of a season. Maybe there was something to the D-backs struggling in those first games of series that they seem to have corrected, apparently, now that they've won 7 in a row, as we discussed on yesterday's show. But yeah, another loss in a game 2 today. And I think the Diamondbacks' inconsistency right now, a lot of it has to do with the fact that 3/5 of their starting rotation has just been really inconsistent for quite a while now. I mean, you could argue 4/5 really. I mean, Jordan Montgomery has been better of late, but certainly hasn't put up great numbers for the season. So it's hard. It's hard to string together consistent wins when your rotation is as decimated as the Diamondbacks is right now.
I think you're absolutely right. We've seen inconsistency from everyone, including Brandon Pfaadt. We were talking here a little bit that if you had to rank the Diamondbacks starting pitchers on how much you trust them, Brandon Pfaadt probably is up there at number 1. But I mean, again, there's not a lot of confidence there. It's just basically looking at the options you have and being like, well, I guess of those guys, I trust Pfaadt the most. But when it comes to Ryne Nelson, I feel like his inconsistency have like the biggest like peaks and valleys in a way, right? Like he's been brilliant at times and has really felt like you've seen him turn a corner, and maybe we'll get a couple of more outings like this, like not 8 innings and 2 earned all the time or whatever, but just something where there's a bit more consistency, there's a bit more length and a bit less damage, and then tonight happens, and watching this game, watching him out there on the mound felt like he couldn't get anybody out.
Yeah, that's something that I asked Torey Lovullo about after this game. Like a lot of Ryne Nelson starts this season have been, as you said, pretty good, right? Like his last 2 times out were both really solid outings. And then he's also had kind of a lot of outings this season that looked something like this, where he gives up 10 hits and frankly, he doesn't really give you much of a chance to win the game. I think we might have that, Damon. Do we have that video of Torey talking about that?
Yeah, I think it's maturity. I think there's some middle grounds. You're going to have some starts that are going to be lights out, and you're going to go out and execute. You're going to pitch into the 7th, 8th inning at times, which he's done. And then there are those grinders where you just got to find a way to make pitches and keep your team in the game. And he'll figure that out. He's gonna find a way to give us 5 innings and 4 runs, or get it pitch into the 6th inning and 4 runs. And it was I took him off the field in the 4th inning. That's not who he is. I know he's going to learn from this. He's going to find a way to get better. I know it. But it's about making pitches and just saying, no, this is where it stops right now. I'm going to keep my team in the game, and I'm going to focus on what I need to focus on, control what I can control, and go out and execute.
It's frustrating. Like it's frustrating to hear the answers, and it's frustrating to watch it. I feel there's a part of me that feels honestly bad, and I also understand how hard it must be for the organization, again, to look at some of these guys, see how they pitch on any given night where they have a good night, and not view that as where they could get to versus, like we as fans, we look at the bad outings and we say, this guy stinks. Look at how many nights he's had like this. And, it's the pessimist versus the optimist. It's like when you run an organization or you're part of the decisions on whether these guys stick around in your organization or not, you don't want to make that call, that judgment call, and then see this guy end up blossoming into a great major league player. And I think that deep down inside, people like Torey Lovullo, like Mike Hazen, they see the positives way more than they see the negatives.
Yeah, I mean it's part of their job, right? To you don't want to be naive when you're assessing your own players, for sure. That's something that I think people in the organization have also been frank about how they needed to improve in that area, specifically after the 2021 season, which was such a disaster, obviously. But yeah, at the same time, I mean, this is what the Diamondbacks have to work with right now, right? I mean, I know there's a lot of people maybe saying like, oh, you got to send down Ryne Nelson. I don't really think that there's any other options in this organization that are clearly better than Nelson at this point. Yeah. Christian Mena was pretty good tonight for Reno. We could talk about his outing. He had 20 whiffs, which is a really impressive number. But he also gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. I think it's pretty clear that while the ceiling there is interesting, is intriguing, is Mena ready to step into a big league rotation right now? Probably not, at least not in an ideal world. You don't want to bring him up here before he's really ready for that opportunity. Nelson is at a point where, he's not pitching particularly well consistently, but he's at least keeping you in some games, and he's giving you some length from time to time. He obviously wasn't able to do that today. Nelson, I think, had a chance today to string together a third consecutive quality start. And obviously he wasn't able to do that. That's something that I think Alex Weiner from Arizona Sports up in the press box told me that's something that he had never been able to do in his career. He had a chance to do it for the first time today, but Nelson still has not been able to string together 3 straight quality starts at any point in his big league career. So yeah, it's just about finding ways to be consistent. And as you heard Torey describe there, it's a matter of like, this is where it stops. Like I'm gonna find a way to work through not having my best stuff or not having my best command to salvage a decent outing and save the bullpen and, at least do all those things. And Nelson wasn't able to do that today.
I know this would only be speculation. You probably didn't get this answered, or you probably don't know this for sure, but is it the fact that he isn't really feeling his secondary stuff? I know he doesn't throw secondary stuff often, but tonight he threw his fastball 52% of the time. He threw all the other 4 breaking pitches or other pitches he throws less combined than the fastball, right? And again, we saw him have some a pretty effective night, a pretty good night when his pitch mix was better, when there was a little bit more variety. Is pretty much that problem, because I know at times pitchers abandon the secondary stuff because they don't have a good feel for them on any given night or on any given day. Is that the reason why we see him kind of abandon all of that stuff and just rely so heavily on the fastball?
It's a good question. Torey, when he was asked today, what do you think? What do you think was the issue for Ryne? The first thing that he mentioned was not enough cutters. That he wanted to see more cutters.
He threw 6.
Yeah, he only threw 6. Yeah, and that has been a big pitch for Ryne here over the last couple of months. Not that it's been an outstanding secondary pitch form, but it's been at least a weapon that's there for him most of the time. He seems to have decent feel for it, and it's not really getting much swing and miss, but it is helping him generate some soft contact. And he didn't really throw that all that much today. When we talked to Ryne about that, he said it was more of a game plan thing. He didn't think that pitch would work quite as well, I guess, to these specific Twins hitters. He also talked about the fact that he gave up a very big hit in this game. The base clearing double that sort of broke this thing open came on a cutter that was just right down the middle. So I think him not having feel for that pitch was also a factor. But yeah, it's, his fastball is his best pitch. So you'd hate for Ryne Nelson to get beat on stuff that isn't his best pitch. I mean, his 4-seamer genuinely is a well above average 4-seam fastball. Just, you have to obviously have things to complement it with. And he just hasn't really ever had that in the majors.
There's a lot of disappointment and a lot of frustration with the fan base, Jesse. And I still feel like a big part of that frustration with this team this year is the fact that they made it to the World Series last year. Zach talked about it the other day. We've spoken about it before. It's hard not for expectations to be through the roof when you make it to the World Series, especially when you go out during the offseason and add to your team in a way that everybody felt made your team better. I think it was a pretty consensus agreement that everybody believed the team was better. Now, you sit in a position where you're 2 games below 500 here. We're not to the All-Star break yet, but we're getting close. And teams are, or fans are frustrated with this team. And it's kind of wild because, this kind of is exactly what this team was last year, right? We hovered right around 500. Well, after the terrible July, but, we hovered right around 500. The Diamondbacks barely made it into the playoffs. Their record wasn't great last year. And right now, obviously, everybody knows that we're missing, the starting pitching that we're missing, right? But it still feels like this team, as much as I want to jump off a bridge sometimes because of this team, it does not feel like this team is in a bad place. And it does still feel like this team, even on a night like this, is still trending in the right direction here as we move closer to the All-Star break.
Yeah, talking about the World Series, Torey was actually asked about that after the game. He was asked something along the lines of, do you guys feel that urgency to get back there after getting so close last season? And we actually have a clip of that. Here's what Torey had to say.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. I think players think about that all the time too. and it just creates a hunger and a desire, because you know what that feels like, and you know that there was a brotherhood that was formed last year that's very strong in that clubhouse, and they know what it's going to take to get there. We just haven't played consistent baseball. That's been the name of the game. Something will break down on a given night, and today it was a couple things. It was offensively, we never got going, and starting pitching didn't do their job. So when it gets moving in a very positive direction, it'll start to happen consistently night after night. We'll find a way to win these types of games. But this team's hungry, very hungry.
That first part, that was a very real answer, because I feel like Torey has tried, we've talked about it, right? We've talked about setting the standard. We've talked about manipulating the idea of these expectations and trying to turn them into something positive, trying to turn them into something where you can motivate your team with it, like calling it a standard. But you can call it whatever you want. It's still expectations. And that expectation is what Torey is talking about, them thinking about all the time, is that they got to the World Series last year and they want to get back there and they expect to get back there. Maybe they know other people expect to get back there. That is literally expectations. And that is probably causing this team to have, some of the struggles that they've had this season.
Yeah, it's hard to say how those kinds of feelings are impacting them. It feels to me personally, I mean, just hearing that question asked in the interview room, it's not that I'd forgotten that the D-backs were in the World Series last year. Like I'm definitely cognitively aware of that and have been throughout the season, but it just feels like such a distant memory now, right? Like,
yeah.
The expectations were big going into this season, and there was a lot of excitement, and we were having conversations about how this team would, projected to win somewhere in the mid upper 80s, but we felt had a genuine chance at going out and winning 95 games this year. I don't think that was an outrageous thought to have coming into this season. And we're just so removed from that at this point, right? It's not that they couldn't win 95 games. I mean, they'd have to have a heck of a second half in order to do it. But it feels like it's kind of been about survival for the D-backs this year, just given all of the injuries that they've suffered.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's about, not being embarrassed. It's about not getting buried, right? It's not, again, right. I still remember that conversation we had with Paul Sewald where he talked about his experience with the Seattle Mariners and saying how even though they got a slow start and even though they had some injuries, they felt confident. They were like, yeah, we'll make it up. We'll make up the ground. It'll be fine. And then until it wasn't any longer. And I feel like this team isn't necessarily playing like that, because if they were, I feel like maybe we would see some different results at times. Like, honestly, I feel like this team is playing with a very nervous energy. This team is playing like their playoffs are kind of on the line almost every single night. And maybe they view it as that. Maybe with this stretch right now, with the injuries that they have, maybe they're trying to, view every game as being as important as possible. I think that could be, though, why people get frustrated with seeing Torey at times leave starters in like he left with Brandon Pfaadt in game 1, or even tonight when Ryne obviously didn't have his best stuff, but Torey still left him out there and he ends up giving up 6 runs total.
Torey definitely didn't manage this game like a playoff game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that we really would have expected him to.
But like, and again, that's the thing is like I was saying, when fans are frustrated with that, what is he supposed to do? Who is he supposed to turn to? Is he supposed to go to the bullpen in the second inning and the third inning? And like, if he does that, doesn't that then maybe potentially sacrifice a win in game 3? Who knows, right? We know that once this team gets down by 2 runs or more, they can't come back. They're the lay down and die backs, right? So like they can't come back. But, again, you feel like you want to see a manager do more to try to protect, or try to keep a game from getting out of hand and give the team a chance to win.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Torey really has taken that approach quite a bit here in the last few weeks, as the D-backs have played a lot of games like this, right? I think 7 of their last 9 losses have been games lost by 5 runs or more. Of course, they had that historic streak where they played 10 consecutive games that were decided by 5 runs or more. But yeah, a lot of times when the D-backs have lost games recently, it's looked something like this. And Torey has been taking the approach of let's preserve the bullpen for the next day. Let's leave the starter in a little bit longer than we might really want to, and let's try to ride it out with Thiago Vieira and Scott McGuff and whoever is in there to fill those innings to try to put them in the best possible position to win the next day. Torey talked about that after this game. And you're right, the fact that they've struggled so much to come back from games, it's hard to look back on those decisions and be like, oh, the Diamondbacks certainly would have come back if Torey had been more aggressive with the way that he manages pitching staff. You don't really know unless you see these games played out a different way, but it's hard to really second guess those decisions for me.
I need to address a comment in the chat really fast, Jesse, and I don't do this often, but Me says this guy is calling out the Mariners when we swept you guys. Okay, you're not listening to the show because I didn't call out the Mariners. I referenced a story Paul Sewald told us about the Mariners. So I guess this was just a chance for you to say we swept you guys. Good for you, Me. Thank you for your input. My God, Jesse, speaking of mistakes being made, Jock Peterson trying to steal. I know it was a double steal, but maybe not the best move. Jock's got wheels. I don't want to knock Jock's wheels, but come on. This was a bit much.
Yeah, it wasn't a great moment. This was in the first inning when the Diamondbacks appeared to potentially be on the verge of like a big inning and double steal. You got runners at first, second, one out. D-backs put on the double steal. Jock gets caught stealing second. Christian Vasquez wound up throwing there. And it did not go well. And Torey Lovullo was asked about that after this game. And here's what he had to say.
Double steal in the first.
Yeah, when you look at the little things in the game, that's a swing moment, and it happened in the first inning, right? Nobody, you guys. I'm glad you brought it up because it's just as important to me in the first as it is in the 8th and 9th, where we would definitely be talking about it if it happened then. But that was a really important moment with men at first and third base, and we were double stealing and Christian Walker at the plate. You never know what could happen. We could be up 3 points in a second with one swing of the bat. We had some keys. We knew what to look for. Jock just got a late jump, and I think their catcher did an exceptional job because the third baseman was covering. I think the throw was going to third, but that catcher had been around for a long time. That middle infielder was standing close to second base, and they just went backside on it. But Jock knew exactly what he did when he was running off the field. The coaches talked to him. He said all the right things, and we'll learn from it. We'll definitely learn from it. I don't think that will happen again this year.
Good. Anyway, well, I mean, again, we talked about it. This Diamondbacks team still has a chance to win in Game 3. It does at least, feel good when they can secure that Game 1 victory and, obviously still win the series. It just, like you said, there's no reason to explain it. There's no connection between these Game 2 losses. It just feels like in baseball, there always is something that you can look at as to the reason why these things are happening, and I don't know. I mean, this is just, it's been a weird season for the Diamondbacks. There's been lots of weird stretches for them where they're either very bad at something or very good at something.
Well, the Diamondbacks this season just discovered they have about 384 runs. Only 2 National League teams have allowed more runs than the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2024. And they are, you could probably guess it, the Miami Marlins and the Colorado Rockies. Yeah. It is just those 2 teams, and then it is the Diamondbacks. And that's the reality. I mean, the D-backs had a decent rotation last year. They had one of the best 1-2s in baseball in Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. They had an emerging pitcher in Brandon Pfaadt. They went out and they signed Jordan Montgomery and Eduardo Rodriguez, and they have the 3rd worst run prevention in the NL up to this point in the season, behind only, it's only been better than 2 teams that are obviously well out of the postseason race at this point. So their offense has been pretty good. Like the Diamondbacks offense this year has been above average, and that's why they've still been able to stay afloat.
Yeah.
But But with this pitching, I mean, I don't know how many times we're going to have this same conversation, but it feels like we have to over and over and over again with this starting rotation and the inconsistencies that the Diamondbacks have had there. It's just, I mean, how do you win 5 or 6 games in a row, when you're just not getting consistent performances from these guys? It's a really tough position to be in.
Well, the Diamondbacks currently have a -8 run differential. They sit at 39-41, and they are 2.5 games out of the wild card, which that's both spots. St. Louis Cardinals and the Padres are basically both tied right now, essentially for spots 2 and 3, and that's where we sit. And even then, the Diamondbacks are still only 6 games behind the Atlanta Braves for the first wild card spot. So things remain very close. There is some distance being created now. The Cubs are 5 games back after getting swept by the Giants. So there's a little bit of distance being created here in the National League, but of course things are what they are for the Diamondbacks. There is some exciting things though. Of course, we know that they're getting Zach Gallen back here soon. We know that they're getting Alek Thomas back. We also know that the Reno Aces have been a very potent offensive team. They've been very fun to watch this year, Jesse. But I know before we get to that, the numbers thing. I lie sometimes. You lie. Damon always lies. But the numbers, they tend to never lie. So what do we have tonight for tonight's number?
Tonight's number has nothing to do with the game the Diamondbacks played tonight because, frankly,
good. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I felt like people would get angry at me for that, which they've done in the past. So tonight, we're taking a trip down to Reno, Derek, where the Diamondbacks won 9-8. Sort of a dramatic finish there. They allowed 4 runs late, but managed to hold on. And Deyvison De Los Santos was a big part of that. The number is 860, and that represents the number of feet of home run that Deyvison De Los Santos hit tonight. He hit 2 dingers. Shit. One of them was a grand slam, and the other one was a solo shot that went 463 feet. So De Los Santos continues to show that his raw power is maybe I shouldn't say second to none, but there are not many minor league players, if any, that have more raw power than Deyvison De Los Santos.
Solo home run and a grand slam, 463 feet and 397 feet. You also have Cristian Mena, who we talked about earlier, inducing 20 whiffs tonight, Jesse. Love that. You got to love that.
Yeah, I saw a highlight that the Aces posted on their Twitter account of a changeup that was a particularly filthy pitch. He's been known for the spin pitches, the slider and the curveball. That was his calling card after coming over to the D-backs in this trade. We've seen the changeup really come on this year, come on strong as another potential swing and miss offering for him. So the narrative with Mena continues to be that the secondary stuff is all signs point to that being very legit and getting a whole lot of swing and miss. It's just a matter of the fastball and how well that will play at this level. It has not played well in AAA, and that's the reason why you're still seeing an upper 4 ERA despite some of these exciting whiff numbers and whatnot that we've talked about.
Jesse, Alek Thomas went 0 for 4 tonight. He also looks very jacked. I know you and I agreed that it looked like Alek Thomas was definitely hitting the weight room in his time off. But he was also lifted from the game early, and he was lifted from last night's game early as well. Is that part of the game plan or any? I guess I get nervous anytime I see that Alek Thomas was removed from a game.
Yeah, Torey has said 7 innings was the plan yesterday, and I'm quite sure he said that again today. So yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about that. I think that's just protocol. Although I personally I'm wondering if there's science behind that. Like, do they feel that if Alek Thomas plays 7 innings in center field versus 9 innings, like in those last 2 innings, is that that's when the hamstring gives out? Like they've got a computer that has determined that. I don't really understand how those
for
things
an hour
work,
and 45 minutes, Jesse. Anything outside of that, we're in the danger zone is basically what's going on.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing is the number of innings is so arbitrary, right? And in baseball, I don't know, the odds of going out there for an inning and not moving really much at all if you're a center fielder, I mean, it's not that unlikely. So I don't know. Just one of those baseball oddities, I suppose.
Could it be that like maybe games get, you get competitive late, right? You might not want Alek Thomas to be getting caught up in the moment because you have he has a different goal than the rest of the Reno Aces. And I know he's on that team to help them win and to go out there and, give his best effort. But like maybe his best effort might be too much there late in the game. And they're worried that could re-aggravate his hamstring or something. I don't know. You don't have him out there if he's not 100% healthy. I know that. But I also can understand the Diamondbacks being very cautious considering what they've gone through this year. When it comes to trade rumors, we've been talked a lot about the Diamondbacks possibly making some sort of trade at the deadline for a starting pitching arm with the way they've had this catastrophe with their starting rotation, right? Jim Bowden wrote a few weeks ago about the Diamondbacks monitoring their situation with their injured starting pitchers and possibly looking into a trade for a starting pitcher or a bullpen arm, which we already knew that they would be in the market for, but possibly a starting pitcher should, maybe Merrill Kelly or Eduardo Rodriguez turn out that they're going to be even longer than anticipated. So there is some smoke there when it comes to, the question. We've been asked this, I think, a few times on Mailbag Monday, if the Diamondbacks might end up going after a starting pitcher at the trade deadline.
Yeah, no huge surprises there. The D-backs would be monitoring that market, given how Erod and Merrill's progressions have gone so far. It feels like the responsible thing to do to sort of be working out a backup plan in case one of those guys, or God forbid, both of those guys have further issues as they try to work their way back. But I thought it was very interesting, Derek. Jim Bowden also wrote, I think just within the last day or two, he wrote a story with a trade for every team that is in the National League wildcard picture, something that would be a difference maker in his mind. And his trade for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Derek, is the Diamondbacks trading a prospect we were just discussing, right-handed pitcher Christian Mena, to the Oakland A's in exchange for right-handed starter Paul Blackburn. And I think this is amazing because Paul Blackburn is on the 60-day IL right now.
What are we doing?
A stress reaction, something or other in his toe, I believe, and is not expected back until after the All-Star break. So he's perfect, Derek.
Get another pitcher that's hurt and won't be back until God knows when. Why would we do that? What is what is it that does he think the Diamondbacks are collecting injured starting pitchers? Like, this guy totally fits their style. Have you seen what they got going on in Arizona? They're going to have the best starting rotation of 60-day IL pitchers you've ever seen. What is going on?
Not to mention, Jesse,
he's not very good.
He kind of stinks.
He's not great.
Look at his baseball savant.
Oh, wow. You pulled his baseball savant. Okay.
Yeah. 4.11 ERA, Jesse. This is the baseball savant. I mean, I'm not trading.
We had to know if he was unlucky, Jesse. We had to know if he was unlucky. Turns out he's just not very good.
Yeah, he's kind of fine. I think last season he had a ERA plus of 90, 95, 94, I think, something like that. So yeah, he's a decent innings eater type.
You'd have to be crazy to trade a 21-year-old, high upside starter though for him. Like that's just not how
whiffs tonight. What are we doing?
You trade Pavin Smith for a guy like that.
You call Christian Mena up.
I don't think
what you do.
I don't think the Oakland A's would trade Paul Blackburn for Pavin Smith. But I agree that trading, theoretically 6 years of Christian Mena for what is a little over one season of control of a number 4 starter, number 5 starter type in Paul Blackburn, that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me on paper. I also think that D-backs fans maybe have to be realistic about the fact that a 4.11 ERA, as not so pretty as that might seem, is a pretty vast improvement. Yes, actually it is. If you go just by ERA, that is the best pitcher on the team. Granted, the A's play in a pretty pitcher-friendly environment out there in Oakland. But yeah, I mean, a guy with a mid-4 ERA would actually be an improvement over what the Diamondbacks are getting in several of their rotation spots right now. So I think it's possible that at the deadline, a rotation upgrade might look more like Paul Blackburn than, like Garrett Crochet or one of the bigger names that's projected to be available.
Alicia Herrera in the chat, she gets it. She says Jesse being excited about Baseball Savant per usual. Jesse's like, oh, let me slip into the tub with that Baseball Savant. Let me see them numbers. Let me see them numbers. All right, Jesse, here's one thing is maybe the Diamondbacks could trade for Eduardo Rodriguez from the Detroit Tigers. What do you think about that? No? Yeah, he's someone that's actually on our team. There are people that still don't feel like the Diamondbacks actually signed him and that whole thing is some sort of fraudulent transaction. But I assure you, once again, he's a real person. We really saw him. And
I don't know. That side of the equation feels more and more correct every waking day.
I don't know what to tell you. Just because you went and saw Merrill Kelly in person at Guy Fieri's doesn't mean he's the only injured pitcher that exists. But you got anything else?
It could have been the actor, right? What's the actor's name that looks like Merrill Kelly?
Oh yeah, Chris Elliott. Yes, it definitely could have been Chris Elliott. Yeah, that's Woogie. Yeah, totally for sure. All right, you got anything else before we get out of here?
I don't think. I guess yeah. One thing real quick, just about tomorrow's game. The D-backs. It appears I can't remember off the top of my head who reported this, but one of the Twins beat writers reported that David Festa is expected to come up and make his major league debut for the Twins against the D-backs tomorrow. And he is a pretty legitimate pitching prospect. It's not going to be an easy matchup for the D-backs. Festa by MLB Pipeline is ranked as the 5th overall prospect in the Twin system. This season in AAA, he has a 3.77 ERA and has 87 strikeouts in 59 2/3 innings. I think his strikeout rate's like 35%, which is very, very high. So he's got really good stuff, and it's not going to be easy tomorrow either for the D-backs as they try to win this series. Jordan Montgomery has certainly pitched better lately, but the offense is really going to have to bring it against I believe he's 24 years old and making his big league debut.
Well, we look forward to that happening tomorrow, and hopefully we also look forward to the Diamondbacks being able to secure the Game 3 victory because they have the Oakland A's up after that, and then some pretty tough opponents, Jesse, as they roll into the All-Star break.
Yeah, it's Dodgers, it's Padres. The Dodgers don't have Mookie Betts or Yoshinobu Yamamoto. The Padres do not have Fernando Tatis. But those teams are both still winning a whole bunch of baseball games right now. Yeah. So it's a big week on the road next week for sure.
Well, of course, we look forward to being back out there. We look forward to seeing you guys back here tomorrow for another post-game show. Make sure to join us after tomorrow's game. Same bat time, same bat channel. No, not bat time. This is an afternoon game. So 20 minutes, though, after the final out. Make sure to be right back here. We will have more information with another post-game show. Until then, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Of course, the people's producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. We are Damon's Dogs. Bark, bark.
Bark, bark.
Our show is at PHNX_D-backs, but of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again for stopping by tonight. We appreciate your time. We will see you tomorrow. And until then, have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful day. Let's watch some daytime baseball tomorrow at 12:45. Hope to see some of you out at Chase Field. It's always a great time to play hooky when there's a day game in town. So just throwing that out there. It's what PTO is for, folks. Of course, we thank you guys again so much. We'll see you tomorrow. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you have starting pitchers who can pitch.
We all silly like the mayor.